All right, so now we're talking about division. So we're really big kids, so we're talking about multiplication and division in the same day. And so when I divide fractions, I multiply by the reciprocal. So you've been hearing teachers teach about this, and you may already have a different way of saying that. I think I've heard some of you say keep, flip, or something like that. Whatever you want to say to yourself is fine as long as it's correct and it's working. But division is really multiplying by the reciprocal. So when I have a problem like 1/8 divided by 9, I'm going to remember that 9 is 9 over 1. And this really equals the same as we keep the first one the same. We multiply instead of divide, and then we use the reciprocal. So change, right? You have to change twice. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 8 times 9 is 72. So this is going to be 1 over 72. And then I'm going to do 9. Let's change colors here. 9 divided by 1/8, which equals 9. We're keeping the first one, times 8 over 1. So we multiplied by the reciprocal, and that equals 9 times 8 is 72 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and that's just going to be 72. So the first one is 1 over 72, but the second one is 72. And we can ask ourselves if that actually makes sense. If I take 1/8, that's already a tiny little piece, and I divide it into 9 more pieces, I'm going to have 1/72. So each of those tiny little pieces is going to be very tiny. And then if I have 9 and I divide that by 1/8, how many 1/8 go into 9? A whole bunch. And so if I want to know how many of these tiny little pieces go into 9 holes, there's 8 for each whole pizza or whatever, candy bar, whatever you want to think of. There's 8 for each one. And so 8 times 9 is 72. And that does make sense. Sometimes thinking about fractions is a little bit foreign to us. Okay, we're dividing here. We have 5/9. And we're going to times the reciprocal. Okay, so this was 5/9 divided by 9 over 1, which becomes 5/9 times 1 over 9. So I didn't write that right the first time. And so I do 5 times 1 on the top, 1 times 9 on the bottom, and I get 5/9. Isn't that funny? It's funny because I didn't write it right. This was a 9. And I should get 9 times 9 is 81. I was like, isn't that funny? It's the same answer. So I did that. Does this make sense? No, it doesn't make sense that something divided by 9 is ever itself. And so I went back and checked myself. It's really 5/81s, which makes sense because I started with a fraction. I divided it by 9 more times. Like I chopped it into 9 pieces. I'm going to have really small pieces. So 5/81 is my answer. All right, check. All right, now I'm going to do, oops. No. There we go. 10/13 divided by means we're going to times 4/9. We need the reciprocal. So do that carefully. Don't try to do these in your head. Please be writing them in your math notebook. 10/13 divided by 4/9 is the same as 10/13 times 9/4. I'm looking for some common factors, and I see even numbers here. So I know that I could divide by 2. And then I don't see any more. So I'm going to need to do 5 times 9 is 45 for the top. And 13 times 2 on the bottom. 13 times 2 is going to be 26 because it's 13 plus 13. So 45 over 26. right, we're going to throw in a negative now. So I have a negative divided by a positive. A negative divided or multiplied by a positive is always going to give me a negative. So I know I'm just going to go ahead and put negative in my answer, right? Then I don't really have to think about it anymore. I'm doing 20 over 7 divided by 12/35. So I'm going to say times 35 over 12. Let's look for common factors. 7 definitely goes into 35 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35. Again, be doing those quick tables so that these get easier for you. And then here, I can see that 2 goes into both of these. It's possible that something bigger goes in. 4 does. 4 goes in there. 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 times 3 is 12. If you didn't get that the first time and you got 10 over 6, you would see that they were still even numbers, and divide it again, you'd be fine. You can do it that way. 5 times 5 on the top is 25, and 1 times 3 on the bottom is 3. I don't need to make this a mixed number. It just says simplest form. It doesn't say mixed number. And so 25 over 3 is going to be a perfectly good answer. It is reduced even if it's an improper fraction, which is fine. Whoops. Except I think I forgot to type the negative. I just remembered. I wrote it on the other page, but I didn't type it on this page. And so see how it says the alternate answer is to have the negative out in front, and it just typed it on the top number. That's fine. It looks more normal to see it in that alternate answer, but it's correct. All right. A word problem. A pipe is 30 feet long, and it needs to be cut into pieces that are 3/5 feet long. How many pieces can be made from this pipe? So we are going to take 30, and we are going to divide it by 3/5. Each piece is going to be 3/5. So we want to know how many of those we're going to get. And so we keep that first number the same. We change the division to multiplication, and we flip the other fraction over. Multiply by the reciprocal. And I can see that I have some common factors here. 3 goes into 30 10 times. And now I'm ready to do 10 times 5 on the top is 50 over 1. So I'm going to get 50 pieces out of my 30-foot pipe. Each piece is 3/5 feet long, so that's less than a foot. So I know I need to get more than 30 of them, because there'd be 31-foot pieces. I can get 50 3/5 feet long pieces. And that's my answer, and that wraps up this homework.